Hey everybody on YouTube, Hello Bella here. In this video, I'm going to be doing a book review on a book that I read by Catherine Gray. The book is called The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober. So this book is something that I flew through. I probably read this book in about 3 days. It is a culmination of articles and tips and observations about sober culture and strategies of getting sober that I felt like was really something that I needed to read. I am starting a 30-day no alcohol challenge. At the moment, I am only 6 days sober, and I'm not saying that I'm going to be sober forever, but I am thinking that taking a break from drinking alcohol will definitely be a useful tool for me to kind of do a reset for the new year. Now, a lot of people do a sober January, so this is a pretty big theme. As far as my alcohol intake goes, I found that it really went up around this holiday season, and it kind of just got into where it was becoming a pattern for me to drink regularly and a lot. So I was drinking probably in the afternoons, like starting at like 3 or 4 some days, and then some days I would go out and I would drink to like excess where I completely like blacked out. And I just kind of realized that I was starting to have problems with the alcohol, and I wasn't really liking the people that I was meeting when I was drinking, and I wasn't really having fun, but I couldn't stop going. So I was really starting to get concerned, and I think that that's the case with a lot of problem drinkers and habitual drinkers, not necessarily fall down alcoholics like the kind of people who wake up in the morning and start drinking, but more people like me who are feeling like they have a little bit of a dependency to alcohol, and that they have a sort of a tune to it and want to drink in the evenings. Especially I found myself being very lonely in the evenings and very just tired and just worn down, and I would feel like, oh, I'll just go and have a couple of drinks and I'll feel better. And I also have very high anxiety levels, so the anxiety would immediately go away. It seems like as soon as I got like basically 1 or 2 drinks in me, I felt so much better. So I am taking a break from alcohol because of the feelings of dependence. I'm also the type of person who usually has alcohol on the weekends, and I have alcohol with meals usually if I go out to eat. So this has kind of been a bit of a challenge for me to start seeing how much alcohol has been incorporated into my life. And one thing that she talks about in this book is how basically it is everywhere, and that, you know, it is hard to get away from it. It's hard to do something against the grain when everyone in society is drinking all the time. I have a couple of things that I want to read through this book, and I have made myself some notes in it, so I'm just going to go over it. This is a really great book. She jumps around a lot, but at the same time it's telling a story. One thing that she points out in the book is that when you decide to become sober, you no longer have to make the decision every day to how much I'm going to drink, when I'm going to start drinking, if I'm going to drink, and you don't have to make all of these rules for yourself. You just sort of know that you're not drinking. So I feel like that was the best strategy for me, especially as someone who has become sort of alcohol dependent. So let me just read through these things in the book, and we'll take a look at some quotes. So she actually has a section in this book called 30 Tools for the First 30 Days. And she says that basically the first 30 days that you are sober is the hardest time to be sober, because you're so used to your habit of drinking. Even if you're not physically addicted, you're probably mentally addicted in some way. And I won't read off all of these, but she says that she took sleeping pills, she took vitamins, she watched movies, she saw a counselor, she carried around a little trinket that made her feel better. She said that the biggest thing was she exercised daily, and that was the most important tool in her sober toolbox. She said that she would head out for a run wanting to rip someone's head off, or hating myself with the power of 1,000 suns, and come back feeling Gandhi serene. It's hard to run and feel sorry for yourself at the same time. So basically, she made herself do things that were basically getting her mind off of alcohol. She said she cried, she took long baths, she studied for being sober like she was getting a degree. So she read a lot of books like this. This is what is kind of nicknamed as quit lit. This is what sometimes people who are trying to read books about becoming sober will find, things that they'll listen to sober podcasts and things like that. She said that she became obsessed with it, just as obsessed as she was about the drinking. She said she also listened to music, and she did what's called addictive voice-recognition, which is when you hear your voice inside your head that's telling you to drink, and some people personify this voice. So like, say that I have a voice that tells me about 4 o'clock every day that I should probably go to the bar, then I might want to nickname that voice like, you know, the whiskey witch, or some people call it wolfie, like the wolf in your head. So she has, basically, you learn to see that the voice is not you, the voice is just your addiction voice. So I think that was really helpful. She also said that she ate 5 times a day. She didn't go to any drinking events. She took all the alcohol out of her house, and she told people that she stopped drinking. And she also found a group of sober people to be around. And I think that overall, she changed her entire environment. She cleaned her house. She started seeing a therapist. She went to the doctor. She gave herself time to heal. She did self-care. She bought herself things. And I think that overall, you know, everybody has different sober tools, but we have to have a whole toolbox of tools. 1 or 2 tools is probably not going to be enough. One thing that I noticed in this book is that she portrays herself in really a negative light, which takes a lot of vulnerability. But one of the things she said was that she never took responsibility for her own life when she was an alcoholic and when she was drunk all the time. She was constantly having a negative outlook on things and basically looking at the world like, woe is me. And she gossiped a lot, and she was not one of those friends that you went to and needed a boost. She was really just a negative person overall. And then when she said she got sober, she totally turned a 180. And she kind of basically was more zen, was more happy, was more balanced. And I think that is a result of feeling better. Personally, you know, when you drink alcohol, it really does numb you down. And even becoming like to the point of like doing a simple task when you're an alcoholic is extremely difficult. Personally, I grew up in a family that had some alcoholics, and, you know, the little things that they couldn't do were really just concerning. Like, I mean, just as far as being able to get up in the morning and get ready early and go somewhere was like maybe a major task to an alcoholic, because they need to start drinking as soon as they wake up. So I think that, you know, really and truly it is a disease and it is an addiction, but at the same time, you know, you have to decide every day whether or not you drink or you don't drink. And she said that basically when she decided not to, it's a choice she makes every day. It's not something that is just going to go away. So another point that she makes in the book is that basically whenever she was completely drinking all the time, she had really poor relationships, like as far as romantic relationships. She stayed with guys for a really long time that were not good guys. And I can really relate to that, because I feel like when I start drinking a lot, I'm not as critical about the partners that I'm picking. My dog is like freaking out right now. What are you doing? I'm trying to make a video. You don't care? Guys, seriously. She said that she didn't have very good relationships, and I think this results from when we are drunk and we are analyzing other people, we tend to have a very relaxed view of everyone. We don't hold them to the same standards that we would hold them if we were sober. And also we think that things are just much funnier and better than what they actually are when we're drunk. So I noticed that whenever I go to some of the same places sober that I normally go to drunk, all the people there do not have the same charm, and I don't have as much fun. So that was another thing that gave me a wake-up call, was like, okay, these people are not people that I would want to hang out with when I'm sober. So why am I coming in here and hanging out with them when I'm drunk? So that is something that I felt was particularly interesting from this, because she said that after she stopped drinking, she really found herself not wanting to go to some places anymore or hang out with some certain people. She says when we give up alcohol, it's like we've chosen to leave the party. Which is why non-drinking can be perceived as a mark of shame rather than a badge of pride. Ex-smokers brag about their former pack-a-day havoc and how many smoke-free years they have, where sober people tend to apologize for their non-drinking, which is very true. If you've ever been to a party and there is someone who doesn't drink, it seems like there's a lot of social pressure to try and make that person drink. Now, I personally would never do this, but I have been in parties where the host was like, oh, you know, you could just have one. I'm sure it won't kill you, which actually, yeah, it might actually kill you if you're an alcoholic. So another thing this book touches on is that there are basically tiers and levels to alcohol dependence. We don't think of alcoholism as something that could be affecting us, but for the book, it says if you can't live without something, it's an addiction. The inconvenient truth that we conveniently ignore is this: it's practically impossible to drink alcohol without it getting its hooks into you, because it's addictive. So she basically says throughout the book that it is an addictive substance, and I totally agree with that. There is something in the body that craves alcohol, especially if you keep putting alcohol into your body. And I think that that's something that we don't really talk about. Drinking is just kind of a relaxed thing, especially in our culture where drinking is seen to celebrate, to mourn. If you have a breakup, you buy a bottle of wine, hang out with your best friend. If you get a promotion, you buy a bottle of champagne and drink it with your friends. If there's a holiday or something, there might be drinking, and it's a big part of Southern culture for sure. Living in Alabama, we have pretty much alcohol at almost every event. I've been to baby showers with alcohol, and I've also been to Thanksgiving, Christmas, we're definitely having alcohol. So I think it's just everywhere, and not saying that alcohol is some kind of demonic thing, but at the same time, it's definitely not doing most people any good. Nobody has ever probably regretted being sober. I want to share another quote with the book from you. She says, this is about your mood and your methods when drinking alcohol. She says, I soon discovered that one of the main reasons I drank my face off was to shut my chattery mind the F up. Sober, I no longer had the silencer. Once we don't have booze to turn down the volume of our minds or anesthetize our moods, we need other methods. Now, I really can relate to this because I feel like I have a monkey mind and my brain is always going 24/7, and I feel like it is a constant battle to just calm down, Bella. Like, you need to meditate, you need to relax, you need to chill. And honestly, it is so much easier to pour a drink down my throat than it is to just sit down and sit in 5 minutes of calm. And I think that that is something that a lot of people who are high performers have trouble is calming down. And we have trouble with relaxing because we're so used to trying to do everything the right way and the best way. So I think that this is something that we really need to work on, is coping skills that don't involve drinking. And this is something that she kind of brings up frequently in the book, is how once you stop drinking, you notice all the things that drinking helped you with, such as going to social events or maybe having to deal with something that was going to make you nervous. Like if you have a big thing coming up, you might drink on the days leading up to that so you can kind of unwind in the evenings. And a lot of people drink just to help them go to sleep. So overall, I think I would give this book 5 stars, and I don't do that lightly, but I think that this is one book that has been something that it found me at the right time in my life. I've read other books about alcohol and alcohol dependency, and I have come from a family that had a lot of alcoholic tendencies, so I try to keep a watch on my personal behaviors. Of course, there's the book Adult Children of Alcoholics. I highly recommend that book as well, but this book is something that reads a little bit lighter, and I love that it touches on alcohol in society and as a structure of our lives, and how there are so much social pressure to drink. And I think that that was really interesting, and she has a lot of facts and studies in this book about how alcohol is used in advertising and how it is used to basically make us feel like we are doing better than we actually are, and how basically the alcohol addiction is just casually smoothed over as like, oh, she's a fun time, or she's a party girl, or she actually talked about alcohol in shows like Scandal and Mad Men, and how the main characters are constantly drinking, and how if they were drinking that much, they could probably not perform as well as they were performing in the show. So I think that she has a lot of great points. And again, the author's name is Catherine Gray. This book is available on Amazon for probably, I think I paid about $12 for it. So I will leave a link to it in the comments below. But if you have any books that you enjoy about sobriety, or just kind of stepping away from the norm, or meditation, or things like that, I'm really interested in reading books about this right now. It's sort of something that I've been studying. I've already read like 8 books in 2020, so I've really been like a voracious reader in the last couple of weeks, and I think that this is one of the best books that I've read so far this year. So I just wanted to share it with you guys. And again, we all have different levels of alcohol consumption and problems. So if you feel like you're having a problem, please don't hesitate to reach out and get help, because talking to someone about it is probably the best thing that you could possibly do. You don't want to be doing this alone. You don't want to feel alone in this journey. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all of you guys. So thank you for watching the video. If you liked it, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Thanks so much, guys.